Divorce. Working class guy, he's a carpenter, she's a data entry clerk. They divorce. Who gets the kid? She does. Who's supposed to pay child support? He does. Who doesn't do it? He does. Now for a period of time she'll be poor, but eventually, typically, she will get out of poverty. By what event? She'll remarry his best friend who's an electrician. Okay, and she'll be out of poverty. Again, you're not spending a lot of time in poverty. Location of poverty. Where do we find the highest concentration of people who are poor? The long-term chronically poor are going to be found particularly in poor inner city communities. In San Diego, for example, where do we find the largest concentration of poverty? Barrio Logan, just east of the Coronado Bridge. Barrio Logan, just south of the downtown area. Barrio Logan. But those are the people most likely to be long-term poor. They are not going to be, over time, the majority of all poor people. But at any one point in time, if you want to go out and find poor people, as I'm having you do for your exercise, you go to Barrio Logan and you look around. However, if you want to find the largest number of short-term poor people, who will not be poor for more than a few years, where should you come? Yeah, working class suburbs. El Cajon, actually, is the incorporated city in San Diego County with the highest rate of poverty of any city in San Diego County. You're sitting in it right now. It is often seen to be a working class suburb. Now, will most of these people who are currently poor stay poor forever? No, they won't. It's the recession, particularly hard hit here in El Cajon by the housing bust. And all those carpenters, plumbers, bricklayers, and those folks were laid off. Things are starting to get better again. They're starting to be employed. But during 2009, 2010, 2011, and 12, for those 4 years, were an awful lot of people here in El Cajon. Those people working construction in poverty for a period of time. Yeah, they were. Or they are coming back here to try and get that degree, become a teacher, or a nurse, or someplace like that. All right. The other place you will find high concentrations of long-term poverty in rural areas. Rural areas. Inner city areas, but also anybody who would drive up along Highway 99 or the 5 up through the Central Valley of California. Between Bakersfield and Sacramento. What's out there? Nothing. A bunch of fields. Places like Pixley, Shafter, McFarland. I'm not making those up, those actually didn't count. There's about 150 people in McFarland, and about 50 of them are poor. Concentration. Okay, welfare. Let's talk a little bit about welfare. We might as well spell it with 4 letters. You son of a welf. Most Americans have a stereotype about people who are on welfare. They're on welfare forever. It's a huge amount of money they're getting. It's the place most of your tax dollars go. These are young women, babies having babies. She's got 4 kids and she's 16 years old. And those kids are going to be on welfare. And she's cheating. She claims she has 7 kids. She really has 4. She's got a boyfriend out dealing drugs. She's turning tricks. She's high half the time. And we know that all these people, every single one of the people on welfare are going to stay there forever. They wouldn't work if you put a gun to their head, and every single one of them are racial minorities. Almost everything I just said is what?
False.
False. It's a stereotype. That's not true. It's false. What's the reality? First, you have to know what we're talking about when we talk about welfare. You will sometimes read, you can get on the internet, I see some of your papers with this kind of stuff on it. It's just kind of sad. You will hear sometimes people say, well look, the average welfare person in the United States is getting about about $60,000 a year. Stupid. Okay, what do you mean by welfare? Now, if you say that Social Security is welfare, now you're talking big bucks. But most Americans do not define Social Security as welfare, even though technically you could say it is. Welfare is what's called any transfer payment, where you take money from one group and you give it to another. By that definition is Social Security welfare. Yes, it takes money from the currently employed and gives it to the currently retired. Most of the money from Social Security is not money being saved up or invested by the government. It is simply taking from currently employed workers to people who are currently retired. But that's not where most Americans think of welfare. They think of the old system. When I say welfare, what kind of programs are we talking about? TANF, temporary aid to needy families. Food stamps. Section 8, Medicaid. That's health care for poor people. Now, if you take the classic definition of poverty, of welfare, and that is largely, TANF is the one that most Americans hate. It used to be called AFDC. TANF stands for Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, TANF. It used to be called AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children. The reality is, what percentage of the federal budget goes to TANF? About 1 to 2%. What amount of money are they getting? On that average family of 3, TANF alone, does it total anybody above that poverty line, above $20,000 a year? No, it does not. Not a single parent, not a single family member. Now, if you add food stamps to that income, does that pull them above the poverty line? 3/4 of all people receiving poverty in the United States, TANF plus food stamps that they get, does not pull them above the poverty line. This is not a lot of money. It ain't. Now, housing subsidies like Section 8. Section 8 will pay part of your rent. Great program. Average weight. Does anybody know what the average weight? So you qualified. Congratulations, Mr. Jones. You just qualified for Section 8. Come back in
7 years.
7 years. What? Yeah. All right. Now, if you add in food stamps, you add in Section 8, that stuff, now you're up to probably 3% of the federal budget. Are we talking about a huge amount of money? Mm-mm. Where does the real money come from? One word, Medicaid. Is Medicaid second-class health care? Yes, it is. Will all doctors accept Medicaid payments? No, they won't. Will the majority of doctors refuse to accept Medicaid? Yes, they will. And therefore, is this kind of second class? Yes, it is. But is even second class health care in this country wildly expensive? You add Medicaid now to that federal budget, and it's over 12, 15% of the federal budget. It's Medicaid. It's health care. That's really the highest cost part of our so-called welfare system. But do most people think it's okay for poor people to get health care? Yeah. Even conservative people think, yeah, probably the kid gets cancer. It'd probably be a good idea if they got treatment. Okay, that's where the majority of dollars. Oh, how many kids do they have on welfare? The average number of kids is 2. How long do they stay on welfare? About 3 years. What does that sound like? The amount of time people spend in poverty. Yeah, do people cheat? Yeah, they do. What do they cheat? They work and they don't report the income. What kind of work are they doing? Turning tricks, selling drugs? No. What are they doing? Cleaning other people's houses and not reporting the income, and taking care of other people's kids and not reporting that as well.
So like under the table stuff?
Under the table. Is that illegal? Yes. However, do a lot of Americans cheat on their taxes? Anybody here ever work as a waiter or waitress? Did you report every dollar you ever got in tips to the U.S. government? I didn't think so. You're blushing. And those welfare people have done something very similar. All right, we're just about done with this. Next time we're going to talk. You should be reading the chapters on gender and on race and ethnic relations. That is all going to be on your final exam.